So for step 16, the dampers, we're going to build all 4 of these right here, including filling them with oil. Now you can see that we're moving on to bag C, so all of the parts and everything you're going to find in the big bag of parts, and then you'll grab bag C, and you can see that we've got the springs and all the pieces in there as well, and you can see there's the oil. Now I have some leftover oil from the last kit that I used, so I'm going to use this first before opening the new one, and then we have all of those bits that we need to get or take off the parts tree as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll start building the dampers. So one thing to note, having pulled out all of the pieces that we need, you're going to notice that this shaft isn't actually a perfect fit to the diagram. You can see that if I put it on the one end, it's actually longer than the picture. Don't worry about it. These are definitely the parts you need. It's probably self-explanatory, but sometimes the images that Tamiya uses aren't 100% accurate, and you'll just get a feel for it. But those are definitely the shafts that we need. So we can go ahead and start building this, and I think we'll do this first. So we'll put on our E-clips, and then we'll grab the V9 piece as well, and I still have to cut those out. So as you can see, we've got a lot to do in this step. So first off, let's get the piston put together. So first thing, we're going to need to put on an E-clip. Now, the way I find that I like to do it is I'll do the bottom E-clip first. And you'll see why in a second. So we'll get that partly on. And we'll grab our pliers. Snap that in. You can see it's moving around solid on there. Then we're going to grab our part V9, this one right here, and we're going to put that on top. And then we're going to grab another one of our E-clips, and then grab our tweezers again, or pliers I should say. Push, and now that one is in place. So the piston part is built. Next step, we need to put oil, and we'll grab some of our oil here, and we're going to put in 2 of the O-rings into that. So I don't know, it's a messy job, and I just decide to let it be messy. So I've put that on there. I'm going to put one in, grab another O-ring, grab our oil, and squeeze, get the oil going all around it, and put that one on. So now you've got the 2 O-rings there. Just going to wipe my hands down a bit here. Then you're going to take that end piece right there, and we're going to put it on the end and just screw it all the way until you can't. So there it is. So that's finished. The O-rings are there, and you can see them inside. So that's done. Now, next step, you can see that this has to be oiled as well. So you're going to oil the piston. And it's pretty much going to oil itself, but I don't mind putting a bunch on. Okay, now you can see that there were 2 pieces, V3 and V11. The bigger one, this one, is going to slide on first. Then you have the little one, V11. That's going to slide on next. And then you're going to take this piece that we just finished, and we're going to slide it through and through the O-rings and out the other side. So there it is. It is in. It's a really short throw with the piston, which you'll see as we get a little bit closer to being finished this step. But you can see that from this point on, we're going to now put the shaft through and into this end piece, which I can kind of screw on at the start. Now it starts to get tough, but here's something of interest. In every other kit so far that I have built with oil-filled shocks, they make a point of telling you how far this needs to be screwed into the piston. There's nothing in the instructions showing you that at all. They're showing you the pliers here and making sure you don't, you don't damage the piston itself. Put something on it so that the pliers can work. Well, that's another interesting thing, because normally on this step I would show you my handy dandy shock pliers, which work amazing, and that would be great if I could do that. But notice something. It's too big. I can't even get there because the piston is so short coming out of that shock. So I'm going to show you another tip to do this. So because they're not saying how far we're to screw this black piece in, I'm screwing it all the way. So you can see that we still have quite a few threads to go, but it gets tougher now that you can't spin this on its own. So what I've done is I've cut up a little piece of that rubber kitchen mat stuff that's basically super sticky, so if you need to open jars or whatever it might be. And I'm using that because it provides good traction for the pliers and the piston, but it also is providing enough of a buffer that I can get the pliers onto this without hurting the piston. And you have to use the needle sort of the needle part of it, because you can't use the flat area because the pliers are too wide, which is another reason why I wanted to use something like the rubber matting, so I could get this in without injuring anything. Okay, so there we go. So that now is at the end of the shaft, and I haven't damaged the piston itself because that rubber stuff. So the rubber stuff kind of looks like this. I cut it a little bit smaller in order to be able to fit over that pinion, but the piston. But that really works well because it's providing enough sponge factor in between so that the pliers don't, damage the piston itself. But it also provides quite a bit of traction when you compress it, so it's not moving as either. So that stuff's great. So now we're going to move on to the next bit, because this is finished. We now move on to the next bit of filling the cylinder with the oil and getting the air out of the cylinder. So as you can see here, they want you to pull the piston down, and then we're going to fill it with oil. So let's do that. Let's grab our oil, and we're going to fill the cylinder. Now, I might put a bit more in there, but let's just see what we get for now. So first of all, we have to go up and down so we can get all of the air out. And what I noticed with this one is the more you do it, the first few pumps, more oil needs to be added. Yeah, I'm going to add a bit more even. Because all that's going to end up being spillover anyway. If we just go up and down slowly. See how at this point I'm not seeing any more air being pushed out from underneath. There's a couple of bubbles still in the oil itself. But they've been there the whole time. So it's being pushed out because a lot of the air is coming from underneath that piston part that we put on with the E-clips. And it's not there anymore. So I think we're good to go. So if I pull it all the way back, now we're going to grab our oil seal. It's going to sit on top, and you're going to notice that the oil is going to start running everywhere, which is okay. That's the whole point of having this paper towel, because we're going to soak up any of the spillage. And then we grab the end cap, put it over top, and screw it down. And there you have it. So I'll just wipe it down just a little bit more again, just in case there was some extra spillage. But there it is. So there is the shock. So I'm going to build the other ones, and then we'll be able to move on to the next step. But that is how it's going to look when you finish that step, and then you should be good to go. So I'll just finish the other ones, and we'll move on.